Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Girls and Women in Sport virtual series brought to you by the Canadian Sports Centre Manitoba and Fit Women and Girls. We are so excited to bring you this 5-part virtual series featuring some of the best in their fields, focusing on females in sport across this amazing country. So we are going to be covering a wide range of topics over the next few weeks, looking at some of the triumphs, but also challenges that women and girls face in sport. So as you know, today we will be looking at the topic of keeping girls in sport. So we're going to be looking at what's contributing as well to this dropout rate that we're seeing, but also the best ways that we can keep girls participating and staying in the sports that they love. So we've seen that in a recent report from the Canadian Women in Sport, it was found that 1 in 3 girls leave sport in their late teens, with many factors influencing this trend. This is from coaches to self-perception to accessibility. And we are going to look at why this is happening and how we can encourage girls to continue to join and, like I said, stay in sport. So thank you all so much for attending, and we will get right to it. If you have any questions throughout this, please feel free to use the Q&A function down at the bottom. Addie and I will be checking that throughout. So just to begin, a quick intro. My name is Jessie. I'm going to be moderating the series for us here. I run the marketing and communications at the Canadian Sports Centre Manitoba. I have a master's degree in sport management from the University of Ottawa, and I am also a competitive ringette coach in Ottawa. So enough about me. Our real star today is Addie Miles Abbott. She is the manager of female player development at the Rink training center in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Addie has been heavily involved in coaching in the female hockey community. She spent time coaching in high school and time as the assistant coach for the University of Manitoba Bisons. Addie is currently the power skating and skills coach for U of M Bisons and is a driving force for the Rink team leading the development for female programming. So Addie, I will pass it over to you to tell us a little bit more about yourself and why we're all here today.
Thank you, Jessie. Thanks so much for the intro. I just want to start off by saying thank you to the Canadian Sports Centre of Manitoba and Fit Women's and Girls for putting on such an amazing event. I love that things like this are happening. And also just a note, I hope that everybody is healthy and safe and taking care of themselves in such a crazy time that we're living in. Winnipeg, Manitoba just went into a code red. So welcome to my home, where we will be, we're working from for quite a while, but just like Jessie was saying, I am the manager of female player development out of the Rink Training Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And just a little bit more about me. My slides are obviously stalling here for a second, so I'll just kind of go off here a little bit, but I'm a certified skills coach for Hockey Canada. I played for the U of M Bison women's team for 5 years, and I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't give a shout out to my old coach, John Rempel, who's also a speaker in this virtual series, which is incredibly exciting for myself to be able to be a part of something like this with him. I have been part of Team Canada FISU games where we were able to, capture gold and a lot of other amazing things in female hockey. But switching from my athletic to professional career, I was trying to go back and think of all the female sporting events that I've been involved in. And I can't even, so there we go, start to think of all the amazing events that I've been a part of. In the archives, I could find that I've been a part of 30 female hockey days, which are all around the growth and development of female hockey. My job is working with female athletes. I get to wake up every morning, go to the rink, and be a part of their journey with hockey. And yeah, I've just been absolutely immersed in female hockey. I started coaching 2 years before I even graduated because I knew coaching was something that I really wanted to do and something that I was incredibly passionate about. And why I wanted to continue moving was just to do anything in my part to grow the sport. So in saying that, I've had a ton of conversations with people about the growth and development and how do we keep girls in sport and why do girls drop out. And I've had a lot of those conversations with people. So I like to start off every conversation and every presentation I do on this, just stating that the stories and everything I'm going to be going over are not personal. I find that, and rightfully so, nobody wants to be the person that's a part of girls not participating in sport. Nobody wants to look back and say, ooh, I could have handled that differently, or these are personal experiences that I have gone through and really are the telling things that I have found that have made the biggest impact on the female athletes that I've seen. So for today, the goal is just coming in with a very open mind about general conversations about raising awareness, and then most importantly, idea producing. What can we do as a community, coaches, parents, siblings? What can we do to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure we're keeping girls in sport for as long as we possibly can? So the main things we're going to be going over today are the dropout rate, referencing back to the article that Jessie mentioned at the beginning, talking a little bit more about why that is. I also do think it is important to take a step back and remember why we play sports, and remember why what sports does for us and what connects us all. The conversations around female athletics at all different ages, in all different areas, in all different sports. And then terminology. Terminology is a really big one. It's where we'll probably spend majority of today's session, is going over terminology that we use with female athletes. And then obviously the most important part of what we can do. What we can do as people that are associated with female athletes in any regard, in making sure that we are doing everything that we can to lessen the curve of what this graph I will end up showing you is. So when we get into it, so this article, if you haven't seen it, from the Canadian Women's Sports Study, it's pretty amazing. It showcases two major things. It's obviously 1 out of 3 girls drop out. Everyone, why? Why is this happening? What are the things that we can be doing? But the thing that's even more intriguing to me on this article is that 62% of girls don't even play sports. So really trying to understand what is happening within sports, what conversations we can have surrounding it. So this is the chart that they show in this article. And as you can see, when kids are young, everyone's excited. They want to get them in sports. They want to see their son and daughter get out there, whatever sport it may be. But today we're really going to focus on the ages 9 to 12, and then all the way down and focus on that 19 to 23. And the reason I really want to narrow in on those two age groups is because those are what I kind of view and what I kind of see as decision-making years. When you're younger, as a female athlete, when you're getting to be between the ages of 9 and 12, you're really starting to figure out who you are as an athlete. You're really starting to figure out what does this world mean to you? What's the conversation surrounding it? What are people saying? Why are you involved in it? And then when you get down to 19 to 23, that's when you're kind of in university, where you're deciding, okay, well, I've played this far. Am I going to try to pursue it even further? Or am I going to go rec league? The goal is to keep women in sport. So whatever route they want to take is great. But for me, it's really the conversations in those two areas. And you can see in this chart how drastic the moves are in those age groups. So when we go, I think it's always really important to just remind ourselves why we play sports. Why do we want to put our young girls in sports? Why do we want them to pursue sports at such a, community level, rec level, high performance level, whatever the case may be? Because I've played at the end of the day, I'm just a sports fan. I want to play every sport. I want to compete at every level. I want to do everything that's involving sports. But it's almost that sports is just the glue that brings us all together. It's all the other intangible things that make it so much more. It's about being a part of something that's so much bigger than yourself. That sense of community, being in a group, being a part of something, it teaches you intangible skills that, in my opinion, are tough to get anywhere else at a young age. Being put in leadership roles, being able to communicate with anybody. Everybody comes from all different walks of life. Being able to communicate, interact, and handle adversity. Not everybody agrees. Everybody comes from different households that have different viewpoints, different understanding of things. Being able to come together and use sport as a way to come together, but learn how to have those conversations. I can tell you, if I wasn't in sports, I probably wouldn't be able to get in front of a bunch of people and speak, you know? So, and then obviously mental and physical health. And that should be, it's been important for a long time, but even more necessary now than ever. And how that integrates in the rest of your life, how you really want to take this mental and physical health and push it through for the rest of your life. So when you're thinking about sports in general, it's really all these other intangible things that make sports what it is. It makes people want to get more involved. It makes people want to be a part of something. And I feel like there's sometimes when we get into sports, conversations or surrounding sports are the things where we kind of get detached away from it. It's interesting, when I was playing at a high level, they told us once, if you ever need to feel grounded and understand why you're doing what you're doing, pick a day to go to the rink and just watch Timbits. Watch the absolute happiness that's happening on the ice. And then it grounds you and it brings you back to why you play sports. I think it's important that no matter what level we're at, we always reference back to the true meaning behind sports, because the conversation, once we do get into a different level, does change. When we get to the point of, you know, we're getting into that 9 and 12-year-old range, there's one thing that I have seen in my own personal experiences that we're losing when we start referencing female athletes over male athletes, when we're starting to get into that age, that 9 to 12 range, on that next level. Because a lot of the conversation surrounding female sports is, this is just for fun, right? Just for fun. We're out here to get, you know, you can get an education at the end of the day, or stay fit and make friends, which is awesome, which should be for both men and women. That should be a consistent theme the entire way through. But we're missing that compete and that progression after. And so what I mean by that is, if you're looking at, say you're having a conversation, we're out here having fun. We're out here having fun. And then don't get me wrong, you're still going to have fun when you're playing in the NHL. Or make sure your practices, or you keep practicing every day, because the NBA is going to be knocking at your door. Whether that's true or not for that athlete, it still gives them that trigger of, I'm doing this for a reason. I've got somewhere to go. I can continue to keep pushing further down the line. And when it's spoken to girls, it's kind of stopped. This is just for fun, right? This is just for fun. Instead of saying, this is just for fun, so when you play in the NWHL, you're going to be able to do this. The WNBA is going to be knocking at your door if you keep hitting threes like that. It gives that extra push. The LPGA, let's hit the ball like Brooke Henderson. It gives you that excitement. It gives you that connection. It gives you that progression that you're able to, without even noticing, follow. And that you're starting to compete for something. But majority of what I have seen, and I've been a part of a lot of female days where it's mainly hockey. I'm obviously hockey heavy, but I am very much involved in other sports as well. Volleyball is a massive sport too as well. And it always seems to be, this is just for X, right? It's not to continue that progression and keep moving further and keep adding, right? So I just want to quickly toss up a video here, and then we'll kind of regroup after that. Bear with me. We did a test run of this before, but just let me get this here. And I just want you, when you're watching this video, to think of the ages that are being represented, as well as the terminology. Jesse, can you see it? Perfect. All right.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to just give you some actions to do and just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aw. My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time, they're already trying to figure themselves out. And when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swim like a girl?
Keep doing it because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. It doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl because I am a girl. And that is not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm going to do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
So some of you may have seen that commercial before. I can't see your faces, but I guarantee when that little girl in the pink dress comes on and says, run as fast as you can, everybody smiled, because it's the greatest thing of all time. But looking back at this chart, and when we watch a video like that, where everybody above a certain age is acting a certain way, and then everybody below an age is acting a certain way. For me, if we look at where that girl felt, Dakota felt like she could do anything, was in this age group. Every time that anybody spoke not poorly, but like in the demeaning way of like a girl, it's in that decline. The way we keep girls in sport is to act like they're never going to leave. The way we keep girls in sport is to talk to them as if they will continue to progress through, and not say that they can only do certain things, or, you know, but it is, in my opinion, it's the way we talk to girls in these areas that can make the biggest impact on where they are. And for me, that video has always stuck out because I think it was very well done. And then when this chart and this article and everything came out, it's literally to the exact age. Everyone thinks it's always trying to make sure we're taking care of our high performance and making sure that that's there so it's visible. We need to make sure that when we think that girls are too young, oh, they're only 8. Don't worry about it. They're only 8. Girls are really smart at 8, really, really smart. And they pick up on things and they watch things and they listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. And they're saying, regardless of what situation you're in, what sport you're in, they want to be able to see that next level. They want to be able to pursue, because just like that one girl, when they said, would you like to try it again? And would you act different? And she says, I'd act like me. All I do is put that exact situation at that 58. And there's some girls that may not, and they may not just go for that second shot. And that's, I feel, where we lose them, is that connection. Going back to why we play sports, we want to feel connected to something. We need to hold ourselves very accountable to these girls between the ages of 9 and 12, to the accountability of our terminology and how we speak around them, to them, about them, regardless of what sport it is. You want to be able to see that progression. You want to be able to ignite that excitement in them to continue to pursue further and further and further down the line, whatever level that means, you know? So for me, terminology is the key to all of this. And I have a couple examples. One as a player and one as a coach. And the one is me as a player. I was 10 years old. I remember it vividly. I was right in that age of trying to figure everything out. And we were at practice and I was on the ice with my coach. And there was a coach mentor on the ice and he was kind of skating around and whatever, talking with all the coaches. And our coach was right beside us in the line. And he said, you know, have you ever thought about coaching boys hockey, to the guy that was coaching me? And he's like, you know, I've always thought about making the switch to the big leagues. And I'm 30 and I still remember that. You know, I still remember that to that day of how that made me feel. And he wasn't saying anything by it. He didn't mean anything by it. It wasn't malicious, but it really makes you think of the words that you're using and the cultural norms that we have set for communication at any type of sporting event. It's really important that we change that dynamic and we really hold ourselves accountable to pushing that to the next level in regards to referencing women as equal, as the same tier. There, you know, the other one was when I was on ice and I was coaching, and it was 7-year-olds. It was one of our novice groups, and a girl was having great practice, just flying. And I watched this girl skate from the other side of the rink to the other. So I kind of followed because it was weird. Like, why are you going to the other side of the ice? And she said, yeah, you're doing great right now, but if you were actually good, you'd be playing with boys. That's what my mom told me. And when that kind of stuff happens, that's taught. That's things that they're hearing, which ultimately turns into them believing. And so we need, and for me, and with being a part of all the events I've seen in the past and been a part of, we can debate all day long. You know, representation, obviously we want that. More like whatever the case may be for people that want female athletics to grow. And I think all of it is great and all of it is awesome. But for me, it always comes back to terminology. It always comes back to what we're saying to our girls, because I say our girls, like our girls. But it is so much more than, you know, I've heard so many ideas that it's hard to just rifle off one, but you know, everyone's like, well, we need more women on TV. And I think that 100% is true, but I don't see a lot of 9-year-olds sitting down and watching a full NBA game. Like, I don't see that age group sitting down and watching a full game. For me, at that age, the biggest impact is made by the way that you speak and the way that you encourage and the way that you promote those girls. And that's why I really wanted to narrow in on that 9 to 12 range, is because if we even flatten that curve a little bit at that age, it's going to increase your numbers dramatically. And it's going to encourage this whole new wave of players in all different sports, right? And I was able to actually listen to Melody Davidson, who is the Hockey Canada guru of female athletics. She's just somebody I've looked up to for many, many years. And she said the difference between coaching girls and boys is when you coach girls, you never get a night off. They are so into it. They want to know why. They want to know how. They want to know that they're trusted, that they're being taken care of. You need to be full out. And I feel that every morning when I go into the rink. These girls want everything out of their session, right? The other thing that has always stuck with me too is the different dynamics of coaching and communicating, because when you're coaching girls, it's girls want to be respected before they compete, where boys will compete to be respected. When we're talking and communicating to the different sides and different athletes, we need to flip the script pretty much to make sure that these girls know that they are wanted, that they are very good at what they do, that they're in the right place, that it makes sense for them to be there. They should be excited about playing with one another. And then you're going to see that natural competition piece come out, where then guys, it's like full tilt. And I've witnessed this to like as many times as I can remember, like as hard as you possibly can at the beginning. And then the respect piece comes after. So most importantly, what can we do? What can we do? I think from that last slide, for me, the terminology piece is massive. It's huge. It's created a lot of positive impact in my coaching life, and just working with athletes. Learn as much as you can about your respective sport. Whatever sport you're coaching, know the path for your athletes, know the key names, major sports leagues. And this is a really big one too. I know some of you may be coaches or parents or, you know, a wide range, but the conversation, I say parents in the slide, but I really mean just continuing the conversation away from the wherever you practice. So it can't just be your one coach that's talking to you about this. It has to be, okay, we're going to educate as many people as we can around these athletes. So everywhere they go, they're reminded of it. Everywhere they go, they're reminded of the next step, the next level, so that they continue to have that progression and that excitement around it. And then obviously making sure that the men and women coaches are held to the same standard of accountability to terminology. So this one for me is really important, and I give a lot of credit to the guys that I work with at the rink, they've done a lot of work in making sure that they do their part in this. So I want to thank them here for that, because they've done a tremendous job at that. Because I think you have terminology and you talk about it. And for me to talk about professional women's hockey is like second nature. I could talk about PWHPA, NWHL all day long. I'll do it. But for me to walk away from a situation and talk to them about it, but then for one of our male coaches to be like, I want you to shoot the puck like Hillary Knight. It's like, that'll turn some heads. I want you to skate as fast as Kendall Coyne-Schofield when you're out there. Being able to represent both sides of the coin is maybe the most impactful thing as a coach that you can do. You reference your players constantly. You have constant communication and knowing, okay, well, you're going to be going here, knowing about the professional leagues, knowing about what's going on in the world so you can stay relevant within it, I think is incredibly important. I know we've got a lot of competitive people on here, so I've got a challenge. And I actually started implementing this myself just because I wanted to learn more about all sports. I didn't want to just talk hockey all the time because that's my job, but I wanted to learn about all sports. So what the 1-for-1 challenge is every time that somebody's in a conversation with you, a long-winded conversation about sports, and they bring up, say, LeBron James and the NBA, take it upon yourself to try and match 1-for-1. So if it's LeBron James and, they're talking about the NBA and stuff, then you switch over and you go, oh yeah, I know, but like Sue Bird and the WNBA is also killing it right now. Because if you have young girls sitting around that table or in that room, you immediately get their attention. They immediately feel connected and they immediately feel like it's respected. And it's on the flip side. If Brooke Henderson is playing unreal in whatever tournament they're in, toss in Tiger, talk about it back and forth, 1-for-1. So that one has been really fun for me because then it's pushed me to get out of my comfort zone and learn more about, like professional tennis. I got pretty wild there and I went into cricket even. I was like right into it. But every time that I try to talk about one thing, I always try to reference it, men to women or women to men, because then that tier or even the education piece is just going to increase dramatically. And then the terminology challenge, that is one where it's more casual. So this one is like the 1-for-1 is like a conversation. The terminology is like in your day-to-day. So if you're working with a female athlete in whatever field, I've started to really throw, because in my world, a lot of it is hockey, obviously, but you want to shoot the puck like Buff. You want to hit like Bufflin. You want to do this. So I've, like, when I'm passing by, if I've got girls that I know are really into basketball, which we do, we've got amazing basketball players, and the WNBA finals was just a little while back, and I was like, hey, did you see Sue Bird's performance? And then they look and like, no, they didn't watch it. I was like, hey, watch the clips and get back to me, because it was unreal. Like, super quick, super small. We've got golfers, we've got soccer players, Ashlyn Harris, we've got anything where it's small, quick, that shows that you're intrigued in their life moving forward, is where we see a lot of improvement. And then we even get parents getting in touch with us saying, hey, you said something about so-and-so today. Like, what did that mean? And then just that spiral effect, the 1 turns into 2, the 2 to 4, it grows and it grows and it grows. So for me, terminology is where it's at and what we say to our girls. So at the end of the video, at the bottom or at the top, it said rewrite the rules. And what that means to me is rewrite the terminology, rewrite what we say to these girls. So that we don't need a girl taking a second shot. We need the girls growing up knowing where they're going, where they're headed, and so that they continuously stay connected to the sport and they continuously grow as who they are as athletes. So yeah, that's majority of what I've got today. Thank you for this. Thank you for having me here. I've really appreciated it. And I think we've got some questions.
We do.
Maybe. Yeah.
We have a couple. So Brooke was asking, so it often seems like girls between the ages of 9 and 14 who are either wanting or needing a more competitive experience with hockey, for example, will move on to play boys hockey instead of continuing to play with girls. So is it best to keep girls playing with girls in order to help them with their own personal development and to have a greater connection with other girls? Or is it more important for a girl to take her competitive experience to a higher level by playing with boys, as sometimes there's not always the team available?
So Brooke, you pretty much just laid out my whole job. I get this conversation or this question more than I can even remember. So you just said something interesting in that, like when we're talking about playing, you said at the end, playing at a higher level. So if you are in an area that does not allow you to be playing, like we have a lot of rural kids where you get 12 girls and that's it. And some of them are very different and in skill development and things like that. At the end of the day, you do have to take care of your skill development. You have to make sure you're in the right spot. But this is maybe one of the biggest debates of all time, because I am a firm believer in, so say if you've got a really, really good boy hockey player, what do? He just stays where he is and everybody learns to compete with him. Sometimes they get age advanced. We've been trying to get away from that a little bit, but we get a really, really good girl. And then what do? We pull her out and we put her over here. So the boys inherently get this competitive aspect. Oh, he's the really good one. He's playing blah, blah, blah. And the girls, that's where that terminology and that example that I gave is taught. And as soon as we remove that girl and put them in boys, what is it saying to this group? It's saying that you are second. You are not as good. So my belief is, because I've seen it come out of 7-year-olds' mouths. If you were good, you'd be playing with boys. The only way we're going to flip the switch and turn the terminology is if we say to the girls that are in that side, let's compete. Let's go after it. She's winning the race. What are you going to do to get her? What are you going to do to win? What are you going to do? Because that's what they're saying on this side. That's what they're saying on the boys' side, is catch them. If you don't want to lose, catch them. But for girls, it's like, okay, well, she's clearly proven that she's superior. We got to move her over, right? So I believe that staying where you are is very important, but the terminology we use in that type of situation is by far the most important thing. We need to encourage that competitiveness to go after that one player, but keeping them in the same lane. I hope that makes sense, Brooke.
Helps if I unmute myself. So talking back, looking at the female and male coaches, so a huge part of what could be making sure that young girls see female coaches could be that we see female and officials, coaches and officials. I'm sorry, I'm struggling here. What's a way to ensure that grassroots organizations seek out female role models? Just that there's representation across the board there.
Yeah, totally. And so this is another thing on depending on where you live. So from my personal experience, That's one of the things we do at the Rink Training Center. It's all female players with all female coaches for that representation piece, which I think is incredibly important. But I'll give you a little story because I think this is so important. As a female coach, I've been a professional coach for 8 years now, and I still get referenced as a volunteer. And so for me, being able to get more women involved is incredibly important for so many different reasons. But the way to ensure that you do that is by being more vocal. And this isn't to say one way or the other about, but a lot of people go the easy route. They'll take the people that are there, they're, you know, in the system already, they've done it. Reaching out to universities for graduating players. We do that a lot with U of M Bisons. They've been a massive part of building the community in Winnipeg. I know the University of Regina does that. Our women's volleyball team has been really involved. Basketball, reaching out to the women that have gone, that are heavily invested, and asking them to do it. Because a lot of them don't think that it's a possibility for them. Remember, it's back in the day to get an education and move on. For me, I went to the University of Hockey and I got a degree on the side. That's just who I am as a person. So for me, this was a natural progression moving forward, but for a lot of people, it's not. And for a lot of people, when they come to where I work and they see that we have full-time female skills coaches on our staff, it kind of takes them back a bit. We're still in that phase of, you know, really trying to implement that and have that as a standard. So reaching out, being active in asking for it, but letting girls that potentially would be interested know that this is not a just for fun thing. This can be your career, and this could be something that you can pursue for a long time.
Great. We have a couple questions that are kind of along the same lines here. So one of them is referencing swimming. So at the age of 12, the swimmers split into 2 pathways, and some go national, some say provincial. Somehow these kids feel that if you don't go national, then they may as well quit. And seeing provincial as more of a demotion, even though at the club they value both of the programs. And then also looking at what advice you have for coaches that are trying to cater to both of the developed players and then the less developed players, let's say.
Yeah, for sure. And this happens at every sport. If you don't make A1 or if you don't make AA, it's like, why even go play A1? Like, and it's, for me, it goes back to the way we interpret it to the kids. Swimming is incredibly competitive. It is a very competitive sport. So people feel like if they don't make that national lane, it's almost as if they failed in that sense. So I am such a believer in tackling that conversation with your athletes before you get there, but also showing the pathway. So obviously everybody wants to go the national route. That's the easy one. That's the one everybody's most educated on. But then really honing in on the pathway for those provincial kids in, you know, even before the rankings come out or before you put your voting out for who's going to make which one or the other, just having it out there. Like, if you do go the provincial route, it's fantastic. You do have to make sure that you're doing X, Y, and Z, because your lane could eventually go back into the national route, but you just have to take a different avenue. And we get that constantly in hockey and baseball, everything, where you get division. But then there's also that feeling that I am such a massive component of like, compete. Okay, well, you don't like what's happening right now, let's compete. Let's get after it. Like, what do you want? And let's put a plan together. And then in regards to catering to both, for me, that has all been the way that I approach within my terminology. And it sounds crazy that I can pretty much reference it back to everything, but I could have a prep player that's nationally ranked on the ice with a A1 midget player, and the way that you approach them and their terminology, your body language, your respect towards where they're at as an athlete is way more important than who's in the pool at the same time, right? It's, you're going to be talking to this athlete about one thing or that select group, and then in the same token, you're going to be talking to the other group about their what they need to accomplish at where they're at. And we get this a lot of times in the gym. Like, the gym has become such a heavy competitive place for girls, which I love. I love that girls are starting to get in and throw some weights around, but there are some girls that are more advanced than others, and we need to make sure that we just tackle that conversation right off the bat. Hope that helps.
So would you have any advice to help these coaches who are tackling this problem of maybe having athletes on different levels to have these conversations without hurting the confidence of anyone that's in the group?
Yeah, and to be honest, it is all honesty. Like, it depends on your athlete, because I find if you've got kids that are a little bit more sensitive, I will notice that, and then I will have one-on-one meetings with each one of them. So it's protecting where they are as an athlete, and it's also getting them in their progression action plan and excited and moving forward. We have some girls that are just in different places, so we have an open meeting just about what we need to accomplish as a group, and everybody's at an individual stage, and we got to figure it out. So I think that question is really dependent on what kind of group you have and what kind of athletes that you have. But I shouldn't say hiding, but like, not acknowledging it is not the way to go. It's 100% being open and honest, and depending on if that needs to be a one-on-one meeting with the kid and the parent to make sure you're all on the same page, or if it's just a group setting and these are the goals and the rules and the expectations of the group. Athletes are smart. They know where they stand within the group. It's our job to help them navigate that path in the way that's most comfortable for them.
Great. So we do have a question that's some more life advice here that I think could actually be really helpful to probably a number of the people that we have attending. So from Rochelle. Rochelle's a third-year sport management student at Mount Royal University in Calgary. She grew up playing minor hockey, lacrosse, and softball. Now that she's in university, stopped playing sports herself, but wants to stay connected to sport, and that's why they're in the sport business program. For my first practicum, I was offered a head coach position coaching U11 female elite hockey. Originally accepted the offer, but is now having doubts as it'll be their first time really coaching, and are nervous and really feel like I had a leader type personality, but I'm more of a team player. So she's not sure what type of path she wants to take in regard to their future career, and uncertain as to whether it is a good practicum. Basically, feeling kind of lost and wondering what type of advice you can provide.
Go get it. Go get it. And that is one of the biggest things that we have when we're talking with female athletes. You played what she played. She played hockey, lacrosse, soccer, like everything. Qualified to coach that team. You're going to feel more comfortable when you put in the effort to learn, but it's your impact of being there as a good coach, showing up on time, being prepared is going to go way further than any little insecurity. And I do know a lot of sport management people that we've got some working at our facility right now. There is no better way to get your practicum hours than working with kids. It is the best way. It's the most impactful way to see how sport management actually works in the real world, and how things actually work at all different levels. Because I'm assuming that you'd have to get a manager and do all those types of things. But I would encourage you to embrace the entire experience. You clearly love sports. You're in sport management. You have played. That's an infectious thing. And when girls feel that from somebody that just loves sports, that is what matters most. If we go back to why we play sports, it's that connection. They're going to feel your connection to the sport. They're going to ask you about what you're doing. They're going to ask you about why you chose to take that in university. And they're going to feel connected with you. The X's and O's, if you want me to send you some stuff, I will give you everything and anything I can to help you with that team. That's the easy part. Getting out there and getting it done is where you're going to make the biggest impact. And if you can get practicum hours on top of it, that's pretty sick. So yeah, I've had a ton of girls from the Bisons that when they get to the coaching, they're like, I don't know if I know enough to coach kids. I'm like, you just finished 5th year of university. You know a lot more than a lot of people. It's just slowing down because your brain is going so fast. But I would highly recommend it. I think that it's so fun coaching teams and being, especially U11. That's right in that age that we're talking about today. It would be awesome. And if you need anything in regards to hockey or drills or whatever, I can give you my email and I can get you some stuff for sure, because that's the easy part. Get it.
Any more questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat or Q&A. And if not, we will wrap up shortly. Let everyone get back to their days.
Awesome.
Oh. Someone was messaging to Rochelle actually in the questions here, so they're having conversations.
Right on. More help, the better.
Love it. Love to see all the support that's coming out of this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Addie, thank you so much. And there's a lot of people actually that's saying that they would like to connect.
Absolutely.
Love to talk female sport all day.
Yep.
In our fall, I will be sending out an email to everyone within the next 24 hours with the link to this video. And also, Addie, I believe you said that you're open to providing your email address as well if anyone has any further questions or anything like that. I will also include a link to the report that you referenced as well as that amazing video.
Great.
So thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with us. Thank you to everyone for attending. We hope that we'll be seeing you all at the next ones.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and for everybody that took time out of their day today. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So Jesse, of course, if you would like to put my email address in the notes, I would be more than happy to connect with everybody here for sure.
Great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.